Alright everybody, so welcome back to Jim Bob's Garden. So today what we're going to do is we're going to plant a lemon tree. Now as you can see, I don't know if you can focus in on it, but I'm starting to get little buds on my lemon tree. So it's time. That shouldn't be a huge issue. I don't know whether or not it'll actually produce fruit, but it's pretty small to be making fruit anyway. Be cool if I got a lemon. Alright, so this is a Meyer Lemon, and this came from that lemon tree over there. I actually I bought that one, and then I took cuttings, started them off in a 2-liter soda bottle that was basically filled with dirt and then covered back over. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry, it was a pot with a half a 2-liter bottle sitting on top of it. I think I got a video. Interestingly enough, this one has somehow or other made an Earth football. So, anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to plant this lemon tree. Now, when should you plant trees? Trees should be planted in the winter, or at the very latest, the early spring. That way you get as much growth as possible. From the springtime, that's when everything really starts to take off, and we want this thing to take off. So we're going to plant it right here because I think it'll be really nice. I got my peach tree there. I think I'm going to put a fig tree back there, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But in order to do that, I got to pull back these wood chips. Now the wood chips have been here, let me think, probably a couple months now. And you can see they're starting to break down a little bit. All right, so I'm sure that that has leached down into the dirt and given me a nice, moist, and hopefully high nutrition dirt. So we're just going to pull these back so that I can get to the dirt up underneath. Yeah, that looks good. If you're not putting wood chips on your gardens, or in your yard at least, you're really missing out. They really help out. They've seriously improved my dirt. I'll show you here in a second how much. Alright, so now that I got the wood chips pulled back, what we're looking to do, we want to make a hole about 3 times the size of the plant that you're planting. In this case, the tree. So I'm just going to take this dirt and it's going to go here. Now, the further away you put your dirt, the further you got to bring it back. Just keep that in mind. And you see, this is really nice, crumbly dirt. Having all them wood chips on top of it. Part of the mission you're doing here is not just digging a hole for the tree, but you're also loosening up the dirt around the tree so that the roots can penetrate. The easier they can penetrate, the further they'll go and the bigger your tree will grow. Alright, so one of the problems you run into here in Florida is the deeper you dig, you start getting into the sandy, very, I don't know, non-dirt dirt. Alright, that's what's down below, at least in my area. Very, very sandy. I mean, there's just nothing there but sand. There's no real soil as such. Whereas if you take a handful of this, you can see it's nice. You can actually compact it. It'll stay in a clod somewhat. So the problem comes in is whether or not my tree will continue to grow in that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, and a lot of people recommend you don't do this, but I'm going to go ahead, because of this sand that's just so sandy, I'm going to go ahead and put some compost down in there. Now in a lot of places where if you have good solid topsoil, you may not want to do this, and the only reason is that what can happen if you fill your hole with compost, then the roots only want to stay in the hole, because when they leave the hole they don't run into that nice nutritious compost anymore. So they may restrict themselves and pretty much just stay here. Well, for me, if they go deeper, I think that's really good, because we have a hurricane season here, and so if they're deeper rooted, I think that will help to keep them up during a hurricane. And also, I think that as the moisture goes down, some of that will start to leach outwards as well. So I'm going to get some compost, I'm going to put it in the hole and mix it with some of the sand that I have. Alright, so now toss a bunch of this mostly finished compost. We have a lot of pine needles here. They don't break down as well, but that will improve drainage and will eventually rot down over time. It just takes a little longer. They got a lot of wax on them. I'll mix it in with the dirt. There. Another shovel full in. But I had some comments recently about how nice my dirt looks. That's because all this compost I make, 99% of it just comes from right here on my property. You know, the garden waste, kitchen waste, grass clippings. I do mow my neighbor's yard to make more compost. Alright, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to soak that in a little bit so it'll hopefully rot. The water doing good will make sure that you don't have as many air pockets and promote rotting of the compost, or continued rotting of the compost. Ooh, mud pie. This is the closest to mud we've ever had here.
Right. It looks like it'd be fun to touch.
Oh, no, man.
No.
We're playing in the mud. Alright, so now we're going to throw some dirt in. I'm pretty sure that's going to be too tall, or too deep rather. Back with the native dirt. Let's see where that puts us. Yeah, that's about, it's got thorns. That's about perfect. That's about where we want it. Thereabouts. Alright, so what I like to do with mine is I like to have a well, essentially, to where the level of the tree is slightly below the level of the dirt. So if you look there, I'll probably take it down just a tad bit. But I am also going to mound up a lot of wood chips around it. So that should do the trick. Now, when it comes to getting the tree out of the pot, hopefully while being careful not to jack up the tree, go around and push on the sides to get it away from the plastic, and then theoretically it should come right out. Okay. So now you can see I'm pretty root bound right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the outside edges and kind of just pull on the sides. The idea being that hopefully those roots will start heading outwards. And you're going to break some roots, but that's okay. I want these to start traveling out looking for food for the tree. That. And then keeping in mind that wherever you set that tree, that's where it's going to be. So make sure it's where you want it to be. How deep is that? Is it too deep? Yeah, that's about right. Okay. So once you get it in place where you want it to be, then you go ahead and start filling back in. One of the things, if you buy a tree, or if you've grown a tree, like I said, this one was made from cuttings. It's about probably 3 years old now. It's used to growing at this level. So if you fill it up to here, or above that, basically what you can do is you can actually cause it to start to rot out. I had that trouble with an apple tree where it basically died on me because I buried it too deep when I first started my food forest, and as a result I had to go buy another apple tree. So don't do that. And then what I like to do, particularly if you're not going to cover it with wood chips, is to go ahead and leave yourself a basin, a well, whatever you want to call it, but basically a spot where water will collect when it rains or when you water it. Now as time goes on, dirt will migrate back into the hole, and that's okay. It'll be fine. Trees are a lot more resilient than people give them credit for. They want to grow. Just like politicians want to be honest, they just don't know how. Alright, so that's where we're at with that. That's looking pretty good, I do believe. So now we're going to pull the wood chips back over it. Well, hang on, first let me put some compost on there. Now everybody recommends putting compost on top of your tree. Not on top of the tree. Above the roots on the tree. Alright? So this is probably the best way to use your compost, because as time goes on, water passing through will take the nutrients and slowly soak down into the soil right around the tree. And be liberal with it. I've never heard of anybody killing anything because they use too much compost. Of course, I'm still young. There's a lot of things I don't know. Now, if y'all hear that sound, that is somebody back there grinding up trees. All right, if you hear that, go ask them, hey, what are you gonna do with all them wood chips? And a lot of times they'll come and drop them off at your house for free. I still have about a half a pile, so I'm not going to this time. But a lot of times they'll be more than happy to bring them to you, particularly if it's close. Then they don't have to take it to the dump. All right, so once again, we're gonna smooth this out now. With the compost or mulch, I will make my well a little smaller. Once again, keeping it away from the tree so it doesn't cause rot at the base. Alright. Basically just going to push it back and keep it about 6 inches away from the base of the tree. Now if you got a stake in there like I've got, keep in mind the stake is not what you're worried about, it's the tree. So, alright, I'm going to pull the wood chips back over it. What the wood chips do, they will rot down and create nutrients, but they also will help keep them moist. Huh? Let's see, put my hair up. All right, once you get the wood chips all around it, and then once again, go in there and pull it all back. The idea being to keep that moisture from causing fungus and mold and rot where you don't need it, which is on your tree. You may be thinking, well, you know, eventually that's all going to collapse back in on it. And I'll have to come out here and clean it up every so often. But believe it or not, in about a year, most of these wood chips will have rotted down back into the soil to the point where you won't even know that they were here. Well, I mean, you'll still have some. But, I mean, amazingly enough, this stuff will kind of just go right into the dirt, especially here in my sandy soil. All right, so I got to do my cleanup, just put stuff away, get rid of this dirt, and that tree is planted. Hopefully, here in the near future, if these blooms keep on going, like I hope they will, I might have some lemons from this one. But I will definitely have some lemons from this other one. Matter of fact, come over here. If you look up here, you can see all the blooms that are coming out on this tree. And this is the daddy tree of that one, or the mama tree of that one, however you look at it. Here in about probably 2-3 years. This one here, I think we've had it for 3 years. I cut it back to create those sticks. So 3, maybe 4 years. And it was in a small pot, one of them, probably a gallon pot, and it was only about yay tall. All right, and that's what I've gotten out of it in the last 3 years. All right, so, and we've gotten, well, I guess it'd be 4 years, because the first year we got a couple of lemons. Last year we got like 5 or 6 lemons, and if this continues this year, I don't know, I could get a whole bunch. All right, well, thanks once again for stopping by. Do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, let me know what you think, and above all else, grow something.